Your comfort zone keeps you stuck. You might catch yourself being in a continuous cycle of being comfortable and cozy, and your current routines are constantly repeating, and that's where it goes wrong. Did you know that only 2% of our population gets out of their comfort zone? And you might be thinking right now, oh, but that's not me. That would never be me. I'm not stuck. Well, let's identify what a comfort zone actually is. As the name already suggests, your comfort zone is that safe and familiar place where you feel comfortable and secure. So if you want to identify your comfort zone, you might be in a comfort zone if you feel bored from your day-to-day, if you feel like everything is constantly repeating, you catch yourself having the same routines all over again every single day, and you just feel like you really want to get out of it, but you don't know how, and you feel like you're already taking the required action, but in the end nothing is changing. And that could be because you're not changing. So maybe you're not taking enough action towards your goals as you actually thinking you are. Because then your life continues playing on repeat. And if that happens, it's mostly because we get sucked back into our old patterns and our old behaviors, and that's why nothing changes around us, because we, at the core, we don't change. Maybe I should have cleaned the brush before I went into the yellow, but happens. So maybe question if you're already doing enough, if you're already getting out of your comfort zone enough to the degree and to the point that you actually feel like something is about to change, if you feel like you're worthy of change, or if you're just falling back into your old rhythms and into your old habits again. But why do we even get sucked back in? Why is it so hard for us to step out of what we know? It can be fear of failure, it can be fear of success, not knowing what's gonna happen, right? If you're not comfortable with the thought of actually winning, then that thing seems so big and so huge to you, and you put it on a pedestal and you think you might not even be worthy of it. Or what happens if you fail? What happens if it doesn't work out the way you want it to, but also what happens if it does? Or it can just simply be that you're completely in your old habits, that it's very hard for you to break those. And you might think you're already doing everything, but as I said, sometimes we think we're doing so much, but we're actually not putting our all into what we want. I'm a victim of that myself. I have huge goals and I then catch myself not really going after them. I want to, and I feel like I'm doing enough, and then I don't see any results, and I'm like, why is nothing changing in my reality? Nothing is changing because I'm not changing in here. Simple as that. But when it comes down to it, it prevents you, your comfort zone prevents you from reaching your full potential. So a big thing for me is I would have those huge to-do lists and these big goals, and I would know what I want pretty clearly, but then procrastination starts kicking in, and I was like, what is going on? For me, a Netflix show on the couch in the evening with a few snacks seems way more comfortable than going to the gym after a very long day. And I know that that's not just me. I know that that's for a lot of people the case. So I had really struggles getting into that rhythm of going to the gym more and finding a way of like, when is it actually the right time for me to go? Because apparently in the evening it doesn't work that well. But relying on the things I already knew seemed way more safe and way more secure than actually stepping out of what I know and actually going after what I wanted. That's the main reason why it was very hard for me for a very long time to step out of my comfort zone. Just the fear of the unknown. Also, starting all over again is sometimes necessary, but it's just really scary, because why do you want to get rid of everything you know, right? Why would you leave your safe and secure life behind? Because it's actually not even that bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's not that bad. So that's the main reason why only 2% of us actually get out of our comfort zone, which is crazy to think about. This year I actually decided to move abroad for a few months for my study, which also brings me to my next point, the fear of leaving your comfort zone and how you can actually overcome it. We must acknowledge and we must face our fears in order to overcome them, and that's the most hardest and painful thing to do. At least for me, it was a very painful process. I don't know about you, but like every time I step out of my comfort zone, I feel like it's a death and rebirth, a death of the person that I used to be and making space for a better and evolved version of myself. But this is hard. This is not an easy process whatsoever. I believe that if it would be easy, we would not appreciate it as much as we do in the end. We would not be as proud as we are of how far we've come. A few weeks before my flight was going to the US, I am not exaggerating when I said I had a mental breakdown. The fear back then was taking over me in a way I've actually never felt before. And for me, I was at a point where I actually thought I might just give up. That I just wouldn't have to deal with all the growing pain that comes with moving here. because I mean, it's easier to just stay home, right? It's easier because I would not have to miss my family. I would not have to deal with getting used to a new environment because technically I already knew everything around me. I could live alone rather than with a roommate, and there are just so many more points where I was like, why am I even doing this to myself? Why am I even pushing myself that much if it feels so wrong to me? I'm thinking of blending this with this color. I don't know, maybe that would be cute. Nah, I don't like this. No, blue and brown it is. But so far I'm really glad that I came here, and I'm so glad that I actually took the leap and not let fear get the best of me. But as I said, it was such a hard process. I did not know at all what to expect, and I feel like going into things pretty blindly is the part that triggered fear the most for me. But I've already learned a lot more about myself in these few months that I've been here than I have in the past year, which I am really grateful for. And of course, not everyone can just move overseas, and I'm aware of that, but your comfort zone doesn't necessarily mean moving abroad or moving to a different country. Your comfort zone can mean many different things. As I already stated in my previous example, maybe you've just been neglecting sports or your own health, or you've been staying in a toxic relationship that you knew isn't good for you anymore and that you wanted to get out of, but you felt like it was all you knew and you were afraid of being alone or being afraid of what life would be without that person. Ultimately, fear will most likely always get the best of us. But what helps me delegating these things and delegating these emotions is actually thinking of the worst and the best case scenario. So usually I would think of the worst one first, and I would ask myself, what is the worst thing that can happen? And how bad is it actually? And most of the time, it is not even that bad. Like, if I put it into perspective, worst case scenario would still be something that I could solve, still be something that I can handle, and still something that I can turn into something positive ultimately in the end. Typically, it's only as bad as you make it out to be, which means if you take the power away of it being bad, if you take its power over you and you say, you know, it's actually okay, I'm gonna be fine anyways, then the entire thing will lose its meaning and you will feel more comfortable, because then you already prepared yourself mentally, sort of. That's for me at least the case. I prepare myself mentally for the worst thing, not because I think always the worst stuff is gonna happen, but I want to be able to be prepared mentally, that I know, okay, it's been a thought of mine, I did not go into it blindly, I did not just do something very naive, I thought about it before, I know what could happen, it happened, and I'm gonna be alright. You're gonna be more able to deal with negative things and deal with negative emotions if you know how to react to them. And then you will think of the best case scenario and remind yourself of why you even wanted to do something in the first place. If you think about the worst possible scenario first, you might catch yourself thinking, oh, I'm never gonna do this, it's too bad. But then think about, why did you want to do it in the first place? Why is there something inside of you telling you to do what you want to do? And just that excitement of feeling the best possible outcome is sometimes already enough for you to pursue what you want to pursue. So you can think about it as the motivational key factor that reinforces your belief system into actually going after what you want. And then you might think, oh, well, that's easy. I can do that very easily. Well, yes, you can. We all technically can. But to be honest, I'm probably not the only one who started a fitness challenge and would stop a few weeks in. I think that might be my secret superpower at this point, to be honest. I always find excuses not to do something. Making excuses and coming up with things and reasons not to do something for myself and talk myself out of things has really become a huge habit of mine. I'm not saying that that's good, I'm just saying that's how my mind works and I just need to reprogram that. But that's how you will never step out of your comfort zone, if you keep on making excuses for yourself. But important to remember is, if you never start or if you stop halfway, you will never succeed in the first place. And your goal and what you wanted to achieve was doomed in the first place because you never gave yourself the opportunity, because you knew within yourself that you would not proceed with it. And that's how you were able to even start, because it was within your comfort zone. You knew you could try it and you might fail, and if it's too hard, you're just gonna go back on the sofa and watch Lucifer. You're always gonna find something that will keep you secure and safe, and ultimately this is what will keep you from completely stepping outside of what you know and creating a different life, because essentially you're giving up before you've even started. So I don't know if you've watched Lucifer actually, but I love the show. I think it's a really great series. But to be honest, what I truly desired was to just be on the couch, sleep in, watch my favorite TV show, have some snacks when I wanted them, especially some nice chocolate, and just not think about anything else but how relaxing life can be at times. I didn't want to think about any responsibilities. I didn't want to think about the paperwork I had to do. I didn't want to think about going to the gym because I was like, oh, well, I can do it tomorrow. Do you think I did it tomorrow? No. But I had to ask myself, and I had to think about if looking back at those days of where I was just watching a TV series on the couch, which is for me just the prime example of being within my comfort zone, would I look back at those days and be proud? Most likely not. Most likely it would all become a blur, and I did not gain a lot of perspective from those things. And me not wanting to let every day become a blur does take conscious effort to get out of. It does take conscious effort, and that's why 98% of us are not even able to get out of that rut, to get out of these old negative habits. They can also be positive ones because it just feels good, it just feels comfortable, it feels like home. But that's the key point. If you become too comfortable, you're doomed. There's nothing wrong with being comfortable with having a secure and stable life, but if you want to level up and become a different version of yourself, if you want to achieve different goals that you haven't achieved before, think about what you do every single day, and if you even take the effort into becoming a different person and becoming a different version. What you can do is to set yourself small actionable goals for every single day and pursue them each day in order to become 1% better every single time you do them. What it comes down to is not how well you planned something, not how well you thought something through. It's all starting with your mindset, and it comes down to if you will actually stick with it and if you will actually make that lasting change. You can plan something, you can plan ahead, you can do everything you feel like is necessary in order to get where you want to be, but you will never get there in the first place if you don't even follow those plans. And that just starts with your mindset, and that starts with where your headspace is at. But I also want to talk about the benefits of actually, well, I'm using benefit and I'm talking about benefits. But let's talk about the benefits of stepping outside of your comfort zone. Because basically leaving your comfort zone is not just about stepping into the unknown and stepping into something that you've never experienced before. It's about unlocking your potential and living the life you want to live. For me, 7 years ago, I loved making videos. It was such a big hobby of mine. I loved reading, I loved makeup, and I would sit hours upon hours after school in my childhood bedroom, create videos with my phone, film them with my phone, and then learn how to edit. That's what I did at 14, 15 years old, and it was such a huge passion of mine. But I was always too afraid to post them. I never wanted to post them. For example, posting on Instagram was for me a way different thing than posting YouTube videos. And I was so afraid of judgment from my classmates. And then a few years back, actually it was in the pandemic. Yeah, true, the pandemic started hitting that time, yeah. But that was the time where I actually thought to myself, it is time now to do that. It is time now for me to upload it. Also, for one, because I graduated in that year, so I was like, I'm not gonna see most of them anyways anymore. Which is just, it's just the truth, you know? Like, if you're afraid of other people judging you, knowing that you won't be able to see them that much anymore is already a huge help of just like overcoming that fear. Now I'm so proud that I'm doing this and that I'm sitting here now and I'm doing this video talking about how to get out of your comfort zones. I never thought that a few years later I would be that person uploading videos, that I would be brave enough to do that. And so far in my life there have been no times where I've been more proud of myself than when I've actually stepped out of my comfort zone and gave room for what I wanted to do besides the fear that I felt. I created a blog when I was 14 years old, and I am insanely proud about that. I back then was ashamed of it, of showing it to other people, but now that I think about it, I'm just insanely proud that I even thought about that and that I did that. That just comes to show that your work pays off ultimately, because even if you might not get the results you always want, in your mind you feel like you overcame something and you overcame a version of yourself that you thought you were, and you stepped into something that is even greater than you ever could have imagined. That doesn't mean that you will always find success in what you do, but your success comes from within in the first place. If I think about it, stepping outside of my comfort zone has led me to move abroad 2 times in total so far. have healthier and better relationships and know how to communicate with other people. And I've been living alone for almost 3 years by now, which for some people might not seem like a big deal, but I feel like moving out is still, it is a time and a part of you where a lot of things change, and moving away from your parents' place is already a big leap outside your comfort zone. And I am insanely grateful for these experiences because I have learned so many different lessons that I would have never experienced otherwise. If I would not have stepped outside of what I knew and thought about that there is more out there than I can see right now, I would not be where I am right now, and I would not live the life that I want to live just because I was too afraid to step up for myself. And I'm getting very emotional about that because I'm just sitting here right now and I've been wanting to go to the US for a very long time, and for me it just all led up to this point that I can sit here and make videos and do what I love and connect with people like you right now watching that maybe need to hear this. And I never thought that I would be able to give someone advice about things that I wanted to hear about when I was younger. I'm just saying those things as well for the 14 and 15-year-old me that was too afraid to speak up, that was too afraid to stand up for herself, and that thought that the world was against her, sort of, because that's not the case. I just back then didn't know how to navigate everything that I wanted to do, and I didn't know how to go after what I wanted to do without thinking about what other people might say about me, for example. I have been in situations myself before where I felt like I knew I had to break up, or I knew that that relationship was not going anywhere anymore, but I didn't want to leave because I was too afraid of what would happen if that person was out of my life, because I got so used to them being there that I didn't want to think of a future without them, which is a very normal thing to do for us because we get attached and we get codependent to a person at times because we just think my partner knows everything about me, so why would I go through that process again? Why would I risk that? What if that's the only love I can get? All these type of thoughts that we have. I mean, there are just a lot of instances where your comfort zone might not be moving abroad. It might be, as I already said, like being in a toxic relationship, or not even toxic, but just in a relationship where you feel like you outgrew the person that you're with. You grew apart. Acknowledging those things and acknowledging that there is something going wrong with where you are because you're not content anymore, but you're too afraid to step out of it, it's just a continuous cycle that will always repeat itself if you don't dare to go after those things and go after what you wish to bring into your life. I don't know, it's just a really topic that's so close to my heart that I'm like, I didn't even realize how much this topic means to me and how much I've grown outside of my comfort zone until I sat down to film this video for you. And I feel like there's just a self-reflective moment right now for me as well, of just realizing like we can be appreciative of how far we've already come. I mean, our life is always about like bigger, better, further, but actually just seeing where you are right now and acknowledging that and seeing like I've already done a lot of things, even if you might sometimes not feel like that. Moving to the Netherlands, for example, was for me not a big deal. But for other people, that might seem like a very big thing to do. And I'm like, actually, I can be very proud of that. So I should just see those things and not compare myself with what other people do, but think about where I come from and the person that I was a few years back, and see how I evolved into the person I am right now. And if I think about myself 7, 8 or 10 years ago, and if I think about myself now, these are almost two different people. But if I would talk to my younger self right now, I would be so proud. I would be amazed at what I've come to achieve just by being unapologetically myself. And I'm not saying this in a sense of, oh, look at me, look at everything I've did already. Like, that's not the case. As I just said, I sometimes feel like I'm not doing enough. But we just have to show compassion to ourselves and also acknowledge where we already are. And identify, is that a comfort zone or is it just a growing process that we're going through right now? Like, if I think about it, I was even too afraid to make phone calls. I was too afraid to talk to someone on the phone and just speak up. And now I can, without any worries, talk in front of other people, hold a presentation, and I don't think about it anymore. Back then, I was like, how can I communicate my needs? How can I communicate what I want to express without maybe offending the other person or without looking stupid? Because the fear of failure and the fear of looking stupid kept holding me back so insanely much. So the main takeaway here is that you have to work hard on making the unknown comfortable. And I know comfort zones are not supposed to feel good, but like if you find a way of making the things that you don't know comfortable, you're growing into a different person already, and then from there you can do the entire process over and over and over again, and you will see yourself growing and evolving in every stage of your life. And that also comes with a commitment to growth and a commitment to growing as a person, and that requires a lot of work and a lot of commitment, but ultimately I'm pretty certain you will thank yourself for it. Yesterday I liked the lipstick, now I don't know what's happening. It looks a bit crusty, dusty, huh? This was it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped a few of you. I hope I could spread a message that you had to hear today. And if this video helped you, make sure to leave a thumbs up or a comment, and also share it with your friends. Maybe it would be helpful for them as well. Have a beautiful and blissful day, and I'm gonna see you next week. Bye!